late nights, early mornings, superhuman strength to brush my teeth and take a shower, invisible soundproof walls around me in a room surrounded with people while I scream and no one can hear me. Um, Constantly being misunderstood, constantly fighting a stigma, learning to grow and be comfortable in my own skin, yet still having insecurities, exploring, being out of my element, waking up in a cold sweat and not knowing why, constantly worrying, having anxiety, feeling as if an elephant is sitting on my chest. Those are different things that I experienced with dealing with mental health. I was diagnosed with having manic depression or bipolar in my mid 20s. And growing up in an environment where that was not talked about, that was not something that we were taught, the lack of education. Now I am an adult and I have children of my own, and I'm trying to feel my way around and learn about myself and rise above the stigma, rise above the shame, be comfortable in my own skin, and have the courage to try and educate other people because no one educated me. To me, it's crying inside or when no one can see me because I'm frustrated with myself and my disconnect with my kids at times, or my disconnect with my husband, or knowing that I need to go to my appointments but not having the energy or the desire to go, knowing that I need to take my medication but I just don't want to swallow that pill today. It, there's ups and downs, honestly. I'm learning to accept that it is a part of who I am, and honestly, I think it gives me more flavor. But all jokes aside, it's been 4 years since I had an official diagnosis. When I was a kid, I was diagnosed with ADD, and now I have adult ADD on top of manic depression. So the combination can be grueling sometimes. People say I'd forget my head if it weren't attached, and I know that is such a cliche, but that is so my life. I was like 25 or close to 25, somewhere around there, and I had a complete nervous breakdown right after my supervisor and the team that I worked with pulled me to the side right before my shift was over and told me that I looked a mess, I looked horrible, I needed to get some help. They basically let me know that they saw that I was struggling mentally. I had lost like over 20 pounds, I was a pile of bones. It was bad. I wasn't eating. The only thing I could do was drink, and half the time that came back up. And this happened in a matter of a few weeks. I just declined, and I was in denial about it. I had absolutely no idea what was going on with me. I thought that because of different things that I had going on in my life, that was why I was, not in a good way. But that was a contributing factor. The point was, or the reality was, that I was on my way there anyway, and that just kind of sped the process up. But I had a nervous breakdown, and I spent 5 days in a mood clinic with a lot of other people who were in different situations, but ended up there for the same reason I did. Just couldn't do it. You needed a break. You needed to start over. You needed an evaluation. I mean, I ran into a few people that were there who just frequented because they needed a vacation, but there were a lot of us who were afraid and scared and had absolutely no idea what was going on with them. That was my story. And since then, it's just been in my mind. It took me a couple years after that to gain the courage to speak up about it. But since then, it's always been in the back of my mind that this is something that we need to talk about. We should not have people like me who are just scared out of their mind because they have absolutely no idea what's going on. Am I losing my mind? What is going to happen to me? I'm in this scary place. I don't know these people. Everyone looks like something is wrong. Listen, for me, it is having to have everything planned, everything organized, and that's frustrating because I like to be a spontaneous person, but I do not strive in spontaneity. I don't strive when in random change. I need things to be set. The smallest upset of my routine can be catastrophic for my day. I forget things, I lose things. It can be bad for me, especially regarding my job. But having kids and trying to learn yourself about your different mental health disorders, illnesses, whatever you want to call it, it is a struggle. Having a significant other, when you're not really that familiar, they're not that familiar, they're learning, you're going through your different moods and changes, and they have to stand on the outside and watch because they don't understand what's going on with you. You run the risk in being with someone and going through that and them not being able to deal with it or not willing to, or because they didn't have that education either, they don't understand, they're not trying to understand. Thankfully, that's not the case for me, but I see so many people where it is, because it still is a very heavy stigma over it, and people aren't willing to change their view or lack thereof on this topic, period. And we live in a world with those people. There are educators, there are employers, there are family, mothers, fathers, grandparents. If we're older and we have children who are old enough, my parents, for example, living with mental health and also having parents who did not get the sufficient care, who did live under that stigma, and it was a taboo topic for them. It was difficult, and it still is. One of my parents is no longer living, unfortunately, but at the time of their life, it was difficult dealing with the different behaviors and habits and trying to learn things for myself and still not completely understanding why they behave or behaved in the way that they did. That's mental health for me in a nutshell. I could go on and on and on about it, but I don't have the time, and I'm sure neither do you. But I take it one day at a time, one pill at a time, one affirmation at a time. I have to constantly remind myself that there is nothing wrong with me. I'm just I have a different flavor than other people, and that's perfectly okay, because we live in a world of people with many different flavors. I just so happen to have one that tastes better.